Hi, it's Lonnie. Welcome to Grace Blossoms for You. So someone asked me to make a video about how I made fussy cut flowers out of watercolor paper. And it is really easy, so I will just do a quick video. First, I take watercolor paper of choice. Today I'm using Thin Stuff. And this happens to be Hilroy Studio Pro. I got it at Walmart. I noticed that for the thickness, it's very thin, but for the thickness of it, it is actually quite good. So it's easier to cut out, and that's why I'm using this one. I did make some out of heavier paper the other day, and I just found that it was a little difficult to cut them out. So I'm going to start with my Derwent here color palette, and I'm going to spray them to wake them up. These are, I think, Inktense, and I was kind of disappointed that they weren't a little more color fast, because I did try to color some of my threads, and it did color them, but then when I went to sew with them, the color kind of came off on the fabric, so not exactly what I had in mind. Alright, so for this one, I have some that I've already done, and basically you just choose whatever flower type that you want to do. I really like these. I'm going to do some more of those. And you can draw the flower, you can trace it with a black pen. I did most of them, but some of the more recent ones I did not. And that actually doesn't look bad either. They provide a nice pop of color, especially if you have like a light colored background. So I do have a video where I showed these. Those are fun too. But I wanted to do these. Now there was another flower that I made recently, and that was not my idea. I got that from Natasha at Treasure Books, and I'm pretty sure many of you have seen what she did there. If not, I'll try to remember to link that video. Basically what she did was she took book page, and here I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I took my jelly prints that I wasn't too keen on, and I did this. I just made them like this. So with Natasha's video, she drew them with a black Sharpie and then cut it out, and so you could see that on the book page the painting was, you could see the writing through. With the jelly prints, not so much, which is fine. It was just something different I wanted to try. And I also tried this technique on tracing paper, so I'll get that out in a second here. I am not someone who does watercolor painting exceptionally well. I just like to play around with it. Okay, so I found some that I had done before, and I also put the tissue paper ones in here. I had color dyed with food coloring some tracing paper. And it turned out kind of neat because the black pen that I used kind of didn't go over the ridges very well, so it looks a little rough, which I didn't actually mind. So I have different colors, and it almost looks like stained glass. And then you just match them with whatever centers you want. Maybe put a leaf behind it. I think that looks really cool, the way, especially how it's so transparent. So, a few of them I did color with felt pen afterwards just to get a bolder look to see if I like that. It's okay. I think I prefer the food dye color. Okay, so that's that one. And Natasha called them whimsical flowers. And I can see why, because, I mean, I did try to draw a nice 5-petal, but it's not that you have to. They look really good and very organic if you just kind of put an effort in and see how you like them. I mean, if they turn out really ugly, you don't have to use them. But it may surprise you. I was quite surprised at how much fun they are to use in my projects. So, and then Sue at Susan Heil Creates, she suggested that I use them in my Bible study book. So I will do that with some of them. Probably not all. Lots of little pieces in that one, that project, unless you glue them all together right away. All right. So then, I need some water and some brushes. Kind of hard to decide. You just kind of go with what you want. Some will turn out better than others. I don't have very good brushes either, so very amateurish around here. But that's okay. Okay, so the paints are already dry again. How about that? Alright, I think I'm going to try that one first. And I think I want to try maybe a blue one. So with this one, I think I just have to make a little more room. Okay, let's see. Hopefully I'm on screen. So with this brush, it's a round brush. Doesn't really matter what size. You just kind of put it down. And if you don't want it so dark, just add a little water. I didn't make a palette. So you kind of have to decide what look you're going for. And two, I don't watercolor very often, so this is kind of a hit and miss for me. I'll just fill them in a little. Okay, and then I like to mix my colors, so I'll take a green and just kind of go down. Okay, so that one's quite dark, but then so is that one. If I did take the palette here, now I have blue and green on there. I think it would be cool if the base was darker. You kind of have to play around with it and see how much water, how much paint. Doesn't really matter what the shape is. If you just put anything down, it will look nice. Even if you think it looks terrible, by the time you cut it out and draw with some ink, it'll look nice. I didn't think so either, but I got surprised, so you can too. Alright, I'll try a different green. Okay. You could even do just green and make some leaves. Even that will look nice. It's dark, but it will. I always want to go back in and fill in more stuff, but sometimes it looks nice when you leave it like this because then it has different values. So let's see, there's that. And I have that blue, and I kind of would like to make some more of these. Maybe I'll do that with a pink. So for this one, I think what I did was just make like a dark spot in the middle. And then just kind of make some petals. And too, it looks nice if you don't color in the whole thing, but rather leave some white space. I think it makes it look more interesting. Now, because this is fairly cheap paper, I'm not going to get the quality of watercolor painting that I would like. This was also done on the thin one, so if you like the expensive watercolor paper, by all means go ahead. Use what you like. Even if you did this on book page, it would look really good. So and then sometimes I just like to add a little bit of a line in between. Just make it look, so makes it look a little bit fuller. Alright, and then you can add something like black to the center. And you can make little lines just to make it look like it's actually going somewhere. Okay. That's actually purple. Okay, so that's one. Now these do take some time to dry, so I will put this aside. And then I just want to do something with this one over here. Oops, I forgot I had green on there. And you can just even draw some petals. Now, depending on the paint you have and the paper you're using, and even the brushes, you're going to get a different result every time. So it's something to play around with. All right, let's see. That's a Super Sharpie. And it's, the paint underneath is still dry, or still wet, so. Yeah, most of it is just play, and you will find what you like. Okay, so if you're not loving your watercolors, like I apparently don't love these right now, that is a travel pack, so it's fairly small. Also, Derwent makes watercolor pencils, and I think I may like these better. So these are probably easier to control if you don't use watercolor paints very often. With these, I would probably just go with the black pen. And this black pen is not doing very well. Okay, so let me show you with one of these. I think this one's kind of dry. So I just go in really close, but I do leave some white space. And I don't go all the way in because then it'll be very weak. And I'm not overly careful about how I do this either, because it's supposed to look a little bit, random. It's amazing to me how often I sit down to do something in watercolor and I want to give up pretty much all the time. And then I just keep going, and then if I do end up cutting it out, it almost always surprises me. So I think that's just the nature of watercolor. Because once you take this little flower or whatever it is off the page, and by cutting it out, it's almost like you give it a little pizzazz. I mean, even there, it doesn't look too bad. But then, say you have like a page and you put it on there, and right away it makes it happier, I think. Anyways, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So then, if I wanted to just use the pencils, and I'm going to try and recreate that, even though I did not use pencils for this. This was done with a brush, but I added the definition with a black pen. So we will make like a dark center. And then we will do the petals. I'll do the petals with this as well. And then you can make some lines. And I will add a different blue also for just a little different shading here. And I will make the center dark. And then for the stem, I like to use 2 colors, at least. I don't see a really dark green, so I guess that'll have to do. And then just kind of make some, is this a green? Maybe. There we go. Okay, something like that. And then you get your brush. With this one, the brush doesn't really matter. Just a brush. And then you just kind of add the water. And it comes out looking pretty fancy. You don't even have to be very careful with this part. If it smudges the outline, it just looks like it's supposed to be that way. And this thin paper from Walmart, the Hilroy stuff, it's actually, it absorbs a lot of water. I'm surprised. Alright, so there's the flower, and then there's the stem. So you just kind of play with it. Basically, you just move the brush around. Too, if you really don't want to draw or paint the actual flower, you could just stamp a flower and then color it. All right. Different looks. It just depends on what it is you like and what you're going for. So anyways, not much of a tutorial, I'm sorry to say, but like I said, I just kind of play around and see until I get what I want. I don't always get what I want. Sometimes it just ends up being an experiment in something, and then you just move on from there. So anyways, I hope that gave you something to think about or try. Let me know. I know some of you do really good watercolors, so I do watch a lot of tutorials, but I don't necessarily know how to follow them exactly either. So anyways, thanks for joining me today, and we will see you again next time. Bye for now.